What's up guys, macadii here. Now today I'm bringing you guys the week 2 battle of the GBA D-League where I was up against George aka SceptileMC. Now if you guys are hyped for this battle, please do hit the like button down below. I really appreciate it. This is considered the match of the week and I cannot wait to show you guys this one. I learnt an insane amount this match and I feel sort of developed as a battler, definitely, and it had so much fun. It was such a great battle, probably the best battle I've ever had, really. Yeah, I would definitely say it's at least up in the top 3, something like that. But so looking at the George's team when I started, I realised first of all the Landorus was a rocker. It had to have stealth rocks on there if he wanted to bring them, which I think he probably would want to do because he knew it sort of wears down my defensive cores and stuff like that. And also stealth rocks are just such a great move to have. So I knew it was going to be free move slot syndrome for the Landorus, which I just had to try and work out what those moves were going to be, and potentially Azelf or Crobat would then wall it. Also, I realised that on top of that, I needed to weaken the Goodra down to 30%, and I also needed to take out the Milotic, and then from there, Slowbro just mops up. Absolutely just mops up, and maybe with a bit of prior damage on the Zapdos as well. So my game plan going in was to eliminate the Milotic, and also eliminate the Goodra. That was my game plan, and then come in with Slowbro late game and just sweep from there, which I feel I had the potential to at this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump straight into the battle, and I decided to lead off with my Motto to try and get the rocks up here, because I knew rocks would help me because it would bring down the Zapdos to the range without me even having to hit it, and also help wear down the Milotic as well. But he does lead off with his Milotic at this point. A great starting one to start off with. So I do end up switching out here, and I decide to go out into Anubis because I knew I could take these, and he does decide to go for the Skull here. Now I identified at this point the Skull did a little bit more than I expected, but it's always really difficult with those weaker moves, so I thought he may have some special attack investment for some reason, which knowing George could be reasonable. So he does end up switching out here. Now he goes down to Captain. I decided to foul play here because if this Arcanine was offensive, all of the rest of his team took at least 30% from this foul play, maybe a little bit less from the Zapdos, but I wasn't expecting the Zapdos to come out, so I decided to go for foul play. This tests the water, allows me to run some calcs, and I found that this guy is a defensive Arcanine from the amount of damage that foul play did, which is fair enough. That's good to know. Does cause me a little bit of issues though, he's going to have to try and play around that, so he does go for the Will-O-Wisp here, predicting the switch. I decided to stay in because I wanted to just start scouting out what sort of moveset this is, so I decided to go for a Wish here, because I could potentially pass this if he decided to go for close combat. If he decided to go for close combat or something like that, if he had it, I could live that, and a Wish and Protect would bring me back up to full. So he does, as I said, he does decide to go for the Willows here, which is fair enough, predicting the switch. And this means I can now just get rid of it, and he can then potentially go for some sort of attacking move, or double Willow, which would be fair enough, but he would outspeed, so that wouldn't make too much difference. He does go for the Flare Blitz here, which is going to do a fair amount, because obviously I'm especially defensive here. And he does take a fair amount from Recall, which means definitely helpful in terms of the amount of HP that he's got. But I do go for the Heal Bell here, as that allows me to go back up to full. So this is my stop to Goodra as well. So I need to make sure this stays up at a really good amount of HP. And being back up at full is just absolutely great. So my leftovers bring me all the way up to full, which is really nice. That means I can take quite a few hits from that Goodra, even Draco Meteors and stuff like that, without too much bother. So I go out into Brainwash here. Now, I knew this was my win condition, and to be honest, Flare Blitz and both Will-O-Wisp wouldn't do too much. I still had Umbreon, so I could Heal Bell and stuff like that, so that wasn't too much of a problem getting a burn on here. I knew I could force a switch here. I was not going to go for an attacking move. I was going to go for a cheeky double here, and I knew I could double out into my Manectric, and then get my Mega up, and then Volt Switch, because there's no way at all he was going into Landorus or anything like that. He does go out into Goodra, and that means I then decide to go out. I decide to pull a double out into my Manectric to try and get the Mega up. So I feel I'm playing fairly well at this point. The Goodra, as I said, is going to be a bit of a problem. But we do have a very solid wall in terms of Umbreon. And Foul Play does about 30%. So I knew I could whittle this guy down if he was Assault Vest without too much bother. So I decided to Mega up, go into my Mega Manectric, get the attack drop. And then I decided to go for the Volt Switch here, which is going to do a really fair amount for sort of roundabout Assault Vest level. So that revealed to me it was Assault Vest. So that means I can now go out onto Anubis and just completely wall this guy without too much bother. He does go for the Draco here, and that's going to do a fair amount of damage, revealing to me that he is in fact a offensive. Max HP, potentially some Spadef or defensive investment, and yeah, just really offensive Goodra, and I needed to keep Anubis around, because if this thing started dropping Dracos on me, I would be in a spot of bother. So he does switch out here, goes out into Landorus at this point. Now I decided to predict I decided to go for a double switch here, and go out into my Motto. Now this is the point where I make such a misplay. My feeling was, 3 move slots, he's going to have to just go for Earth Power, but he does reveal he in fact brought the Grass Knot, which was a stupid assumption on my part. Even though, to be honest, if he was timid, I'd have lived. Modest was 40% chance to kill, so he did get a high roll on this one, but that's fair enough. But my way of thinking was I could get some damage off and onto him, and I just got a little bit greedy. I wanted to try and get this Landorus. This Landorus got into my head, and I just wanted to try and kill it. And Ice Fang did about 90%, so I wanted to try and do that, which was really stupid on my part. Trying to get rocks up would have made such a better place. That was definitely my biggest misplay of the match. So I decided to go for the HP Ice here to try and take this guy out. Go for a Volt Switch here. I'm slowly whittling this Goodra down, which is good news. And definitely starting to come down to the sort of 30% range that I need it to be to sweep. So I decided to go into Anubis here. And I knew I could be able to take a Draco, and I could take another Draco from there if he decides to go for that. So he does drop another Draco here. Doing a pretty good amount of damage, I must admit. And after leftovers, I am going to be able to take another one. So I decided I'm just going to wish up, I can protect. That's absolutely fine. And then he reveals the fact that he is in fact a mixed Goodra with superpower, which is just absolutely amazing. He identified on my team that the only thing that could handle Goodra was this Anubis. And by bringing superpower, that meant he does about, even uninvested, he does 30-40%. Something I would have never imagined he would bring, which is just absolutely insane. Props to him for that. That was absolutely fair enough. But the problem is now my Wall Core is gone. I do go into Slowbro to scare this thing out as he goes out into Zapdos. And I decide to pull another double. So I'm trying to use the Slowbro to force switches, but not actually reveal the set. So I go out into Pharaoh here. I needed damage on this Zapdos, so I was like, it's fair enough. If he's Scarfed, I can still handle it and take it out. If he's defensive, I can still handle it. So I decided to go for a T-Bot here, which does a really nice amount, revealing to me he's offensive. He goes for his own Volt Switch here, doing a fair amount of damage, and reveals to me that he's Life Orb as well. So if I'd have got rocks up at this point, that Zapdos would be dead as well, which would have been really nice if he decided to bring that in. So he goes down to Snake here. I feel it was absolutely fine to go for a Volt Switch, but he reveals he's in fact Scarf Milotic. Now let's just stop here and have a think. How that is just such a genius set, because for example, everyone would switch in Mega Electric to a Milotic. Competitive, double special attack boost, Hydro Pump or Scald, and you get the KO, and you kill that thing without it even touching you. That is just pure genius, I must admit, and completely caught me off guard. There was no way I was expecting that. So I do decide to go for the Brave Bird here, because that means I can take out this Milotic, and that's the premier #1 stop to the premier #1 stop to my Slowbro from sweeping from there. Goes out into Proto here. Now I need to get some damage off Ice. I had to make the assumption that this thing wouldn't carry SD. If it carried SD, then I was in a very much a sort of spot of bother. But there was not much I could do. I had to go and get some damage off on this guy. So I decided to go for Super Fang here, because that was my most damaging move. I couldn't afford to switch here, because Azelf put in work, and just everything else put in work here. So, apart from maybe my Mega Electric, but he does manage to take me out then with a Bullet Punch, which is fair enough. I decided not to keep this because Brave Bird, next time I decided to go for Brave Bird, that would kill me. Arcanine just hard-walled me. It didn't really make much sense, and I could get a free switch into Mirage here. So I go into Mirage here, and I am forced to go for Flamethrower here. I was so tempted to go for Psychic here, but I wouldn't have been able to kill. The only thing that killed was Flamethrower, and if he decided to stay in and be manly, I'd have been in a spot above it. But I decided to go for Flamethrower here, which really doesn't do a huge amount, and he does make the excellent switch out into the Arcanine here. So what I decided to do is I just need to get damage off. So I predicted him to go for the E-Speed, because I knew I could take an E-Speed and then a Bullet Punch later on, so that was absolutely fine. So I decided to go for the Psychic here, try and whittle this guy down, and I do really whittle him down here, and down to a point where he's either forced to start Morning Sun and stuff like that. So I do predict him to either Morning Sun here or go for another E-Speed. He does go out into I do go into Brainwash here, because I knew I could take any hit from this guy, especially an E-Speed, and potentially catch this Goodra on the switch, because I could then, if I could bring the Goodra down, because he did switch in the Goodra before, if I could catch out this Goodra, then that would put me in such a great position. And then I'm in sweeping range, and I can start sweeping later on. I would have to obviously switch out to get some recovery. He does end up going out into Landorus, though, which means I get to take out Landorus, which is a sort of moral victory on my part, at least, for this one. Taking out Landorus was absolutely great. But unfortunately, the Goodra is still there. My game plan is still in motion to try and get that Goodra down. And I'm starting to lose quite a bit of HP from that Life Orb and Burn. Goes down to Zapdos here. I decided my best play here was to try and sack off, my Mega Manectric here. Just because I don't think it was going to be doing a huge amount. And, I had no other switch-ins here. It was either that or Azelf. And Azelf was more valuable to me in my mind, because I knew I had some really good ways to take out the Arcanine. I was weak to Bullet Punch, E-Speed. So many different things could take me out. So it's kind of pointless keeping this around. As he does go for the Volt Switch here. And he ends up going out into his Goodra here. Which is a really, really fair play. But what that means is if I can whittle this down and potentially he misses his Draco or something like that, I still have a chance. It's a slim chance with the amount of HP that I'd be at with my Slowbro, but I've still got a chance. So I go for the HP Ice. I need to whittle this guy down. He does decide to go for the Dragon Pulse here, which is fair enough, because that means while I do take this, because I'm HP invested, I can, first of all, it means the planets align, and now it's at the point where I could potentially sweep. But it means he can then preserve the Draco for the Slowbro, which is an excellent play on his part. So he does end up taking me out here. And this means I can go out into my Slowbro and try and get Trick Room up, because this was my last ditch attempt. The planets started to align, but I ran out of Mons, unfortunately, which was a shame. And the Draco does get dropped here, and it does take me out. But, well, at least Burn's going to take me out from there. So I do go for the Trick Room here, because I decided it was my best play. Worst comes to worst if I do end up missing. And it does take me out with Burn. So that was the end of the battle, unfortunately. I did lose this one, but I would say I feel I played, in terms of my plays, I feel I played very, very well. The only stupid play was the Motto one, which was really, really unfortunate. I need to make sure I don't do anything stupid like that before, especially when Crobat walled it. But that was the problem, as the Landorus is so unpredictable. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. If he decided to be manly and staying in calm mind, I'd be in quite a spot of bother there. So, yeah. It was very, very difficult. But to be honest, I'm really, really not mad. That match was just absolutely insane. He out-prepped me. Definitely. He brought some absolutely insane sets. Out-predicted what I was going to bring and brought some insane sets to beat those. Props to him. We had a completely hacksless match as well, which is really what I'd like to see. So it was hacksless, a lot of fun, and I learnt a lot as well. So I feel this was a success. And while I did end up losing, I still had a blast. And it's really, really difficult, because I feel if I say I had a really great time and I'm really, really not mad for the win, the better man won on this one. People are going to go, oh, you're making excuses, stuff like that. I'm not making excuses. He completely out-predicted me and made some absolutely fantastic sets. He deserved the win. He deserved the win. I wouldn't really want it any other way. So what this does mean, though, is I've got a measure of George now. I know, I've got an idea of how he plays, what sort of things he decides to bring in terms of, not necessarily like the sets, but the level of complexity. So that means I've got another match coming up later on with George, later on in the season. So that means I'm going to be stepping up my level of prep, and I'm coming for you, George. I am going to make sure I get a much closer, and I'm going for the win for that one. And I'm going to try and even the score to 1-0, and definitely try my best for that one. In terms of where we are at the minute, I know we're sitting 1-1, which puts us down from Vinny at the minute, who's currently at 0-2, but we did just play the best guy in the league, and almost any season of the league, so the analysts seem to say. So I think our score at the minute doesn't reflect where we sit, in terms of, and I'm going to be making sure I make playoffs. Even if the next match against George is a loss, I am still going to make sure I am going to be thrashing Hardy and also Vinny as well, to make sure I can get into the playoffs. There is no hiding, you guys. I'm coming for you. But, yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed the battle, though. I had a blast, and I hope you guys enjoyed some of the sets he decided to bring, because that was just pure genius. But anyway, I'm going to head out, so I hope you guys enjoyed the battle, and I will see you guys at the next one. Macadii out.